You say you don't think Tyson is really retired. What do you know that us as boxing fans and fans of the sport don't know?
Nothing, but except I know Tyson and I know the history of great fighters after they've won a couple of big fights saying they're retired. Uh, they don't retire.
Obviously, the greatest did that, and so many people after him. Do you think Tyson beats both Joshua and Usyk if they were to fight?
Absolutely. I think Usyk may be a little bit more difficult than Joshua, but I think he just beats both of those guys.
Those are the words of Bob Arum as he gives his counterpunch on Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury. And he doesn't think Tyson Fury is going to stay retired. Let me counterpunch. Well, we don't have any other intel from Bob Arum that there's evidence that he's going to come back. He's just basing it on the history of other fighters. I think my counterpunch is he should be thinking about the history of Tyson Fury himself, not just other fighters or other great fighters. I think certain fighters you can only go on, just like everyone, you can only go on their history of what they've already done, what they've previously done, because previously people do exactly what they know to do. You know, like Tyson Fury, regardless of everything that he had going on, if you think about Tyson Fury and, you know, what he did with Klitschko, and then he won and he was still undefeated. And then he, in fact, retired after all this was going on. Why would he retire when everything is good? You know? So if he retired and then came back to the sport, and then the way he retired because everything was bad, and then he still came back to the sport, what makes you think he won't just come back to the sport when everything's good? You know? And then if he does stay retired, it just shows you that Tyson Fury has a limit of comfortability, or a limit of comfort that he has become accustomed to. You know, it would be sad and unfortunate because the last person you fought was a mandatory, and that was a guy that was probably maybe 4 or 5 in the world, maybe. You know, yeah, he was top 5, but then again, you know, we don't really know that either because I mean, he was knocked out by Povetkin. He was beaten by Anthony Joshua. He never fought Deontay Wilder. He got beat by Tyson, you know, but Tyson in his own right didn't really fight the other guys that was there. Okay. The only person he fought was Wilder. So there was a lot of opportunity, you know, in a lot of different scenarios that never played out. So with Tyson Fury leaving from beating Dillian White, a guy that's not really talked about, you know, he's just a guy that deserved his opportunity because he never got it due to corruption in the sport of boxing. Yes, the WBC. So with Tyson Fury, and no one's really believing that he's retired, he just has to keep showing people. And I think that's the problem. I think the more and more you tell a person what he's not going to do, I think with Tyson Fury, he's doing that only because people don't believe him. The moment when people think he's retired, Tyson Fury's really retired, that's when he's going to come back, because then it'll be an element of surprise there. I think Tyson Fury is wired that way. I feel that Tyson Fury is a fighter that he's a person that he never wants to be predictable. He always wants to be unpredictable. And I think that's been his strong point, you know, throughout his career. You never knew what he was going to do. He always said one thing this week and said another thing another week. So he's always wants that element of surprise, that element of not being predictable. And I think this is no exception. I think that Tyson Fury is saying, hey, I'm still retired. I'm going to stay retired. And then he mentioned money last week, if you guys can remember. So it has to be the right type of money. So basically, he's holding out for the money. So he's not staying retired, because if he would have, there's not going to be such money. We had to have a conversation. Bring me the money. Show me the money. But before that, he said there's no amount of money that's going to get him back in the ring. So, you know what I mean? So he wants to be unpredictable. I don't think, as far as a lot of times people give Tyson Fury this bad rap of contradicting. Yes, I think he's contradicting only because he wants to throw you off. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Bob Arum stating that Tyson Fury is not going to stay into retirement. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.